After years of steady decline, the number of Americans who identify as Christian is leveling off at around 6 out of 10 people. This is all according to a massive new survey by the Pew Research Center.
The Religious Landscape Study released this week is the largest single survey that the center conducts. And the numbers are considered authoritative figures on the size of U.S. religious groups because the U.S. Census does not collect this kind of information. So to break down what the survey found and to take a closer look at what the landscape of religion is here in Texas, we want to bring in Alan Cooperman. He's the Director of Religion Research at the Pew Research Center. Alan, thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks for having me, Will and Avery. Appreciate it.
Before we get into the findings and results of this survey, we want to ask you, why is it important for the center to study this, especially on such a large scale?
Well, we study religion because we think religion is really important to individuals and to societies. We don't promote any particular religion or religion as a whole.
And Alan, according to this survey, what does religion in America look like today, and how has that really changed over time?
Well, the big news in American religion is stability, because over the last 20 plus years, organized religion has broadly been in decline really all across the United States. The percentages of Americans who identify as Christians had been going down by about 1 percentage point per year. And the shares who don't identify with any religious group, we sometimes call them the nones, N-O-N-E-S, has been rising by about 1 percentage point per group and per year. And this has been going on for a few decades now. But just in the last few years, those numbers have leveled off. So we're now hovering right around 62% Christian nationwide, 29% who don't identify with any religion.
Let's talk about Texas. How does our state compare with what we're seeing in the rest of the country?
So Texas is a religious state, as I'm sure your folks know. In Texas right now, it's about 67% of adults who identify as Christian. Now, Texas has not been immune from the big national trends. That number is 10 points lower than it was in 2014 when it was 77%. But still, Texas is a little more Christian than the nation as a whole. The share of people who don't identify with any religion is a little lower in Texas than it is across the whole. And Texans are religious not just in their identities, but also in what they do. So, for example, 50% of Texans say they pray every day. Nationwide, it's 44%. And Austin, I hate to break this to you, if it ever was weird, it's not so weird. Austin looks a lot like the country as a whole. It really does in terms of the shares that are that are Christian, the shares that are nuns, and the shares who pray daily, attend religious services. Austin's very much kind of like the national average.
Really interesting. So as you mentioned there, the study is not only looking at what people say they believe, but how those beliefs influence people's daily practices. What are we seeing as a national trend over time? You mentioned going to church, praying daily. Have we seen a change in recent years in people's day-to-day lives?
Yes, Avery. Almost every measure of religious behavior and engagement had been declining over the past few decades. But again, just in the last few years, since around 2019, 2020, those things seem to have leveled off. So the share of people who say they pray daily has leveled off. The share of people who say they attend religious services. Religious services, about a third of Americans who say they go once a month or more. Again, a little over 4 in 10 say they pray every day. Same with belief in God and a lot of these other measures that after long-term declines seem to be stabilizing.
Alan, final question for you here this morning. What about other religions outside of Christianity? What did the survey find there?
So those shares are still fairly low, but they're growing. So all the non-Christian religions together today make up about 7% of the U.S. population. 10 years ago, 5%. And that includes Jews, who are about 2%, and that number is pretty stable. Muslims, about 1%, also rising over time. Hindus, Buddhists, each also around 1%, and also have been rising over time. And immigration is part of the reason for the increase in those non-Christian religions, aside from Judaism.
Alan Cooperman, thank you so much for joining us. There's so much in that survey. I think we could keep you here for much longer. We do want to point people to Pew Research Center. People can actually look at some of those interactive graphs that Alan describing and dig into some of those numbers. Alan, thank you for joining us for some perspective and the landscape of religion in our country.
Thanks for the great questions. Really enjoyed it.